Hello, we are live. I'm Amanda Call. You're watching my YouTube channel. This is my comic page. We started working on this last week. This is chapter 28, page 26 of my webcomic, Age of Night. So last week, we got all of the panels kind of roughed in, and we started to finalize some of the pencils on this top panel. There are so many rocks, you guys. I started the very many rocks. I haven't gotten very far on the very many rocks yet because there's a lot of rocks. So we'll work on the rocks for a little bit and then we'll probably jump down to working on something not rock related so I don't lose my mind and so you guys aren't super bored while we're doing this. That's the goal. So I'm just going to start working on some rocks. Hey, Spud. Yes, I also was not sure what day today was for a good portion of the day because yesterday was Labor Day here in the US, which is a government holiday, which means the kids didn't have school. My husband didn't have work. It was all just, I don't normally work Mondays anyway, unless there's like something coming up. So I was just all confused. I had to go to work today and I was like, but it's Monday, isn't it? No, it's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. Darn Labor Day getting us all confused. Hey, someone saying, thanks so much for joining me. So, how was everybody's hopefully long holiday weekend? If you were able to have a long holiday weekend, not everybody gets to, but if you did, hopefully you had a good one. This is like a weird, like, pedestal looking rock now. Where's my other eraser? Ha 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 ha. One thing I have done since last week is that although I did this like middle end of last week, I guess like end of last week, is I cleaned my little corner of the studio. It's much nicer over here. It's like way more organized, and now the challenge is to keep it that way for more than a week. Spud caught up on some things. Someone saying didn't do much. Not doing much sometimes is just absolutely perfect, though. Sometimes that's exactly the thing to do. I'm enjoying a nice little break in my schedule of not having quite as many things that I have to do. Like, not so many scheduled activities. So this past weekend, I had nothing scheduled, which to have like that at all is kind of remarkable. And so I went to the main Odd and Unusual show that I mentioned last time. I got to actually go to that and just walk around and see stuff and buy some cool things. So that was fun. And a few of my friends were there, so I got to stop by and say hey and buy some of their stuff. It was very cool. And so there was all sorts of neat things. Like a lot of it was like a gothy craft fair. And then you had people with like some antiques. There was lots of taxidermy. There was lots of bones and wet specimens and some mummified bits and like stuff like insects in dioramas and that sort of thing. Really cool stuff. Somebody had a pet tarantula. I got to hold their little pet tarantula. She was so sweet. She was just so chill. She just like sat in my hands. Just sat there. I know to some people that sounds horrible, but I thought it was very cool. Freaking rocks. and trying to, like, vary the shapes and not just do the exact same shape over and over and over again gets challenging. That's why occasionally I have to just, like, stop and go work on something else for a bit. Is that surprised face someone saying, "Is that surprised face about the spider friend?" I know a lot of people have them, but I'm not sure I could hold one. The thing was, like, because she was so big, um, it wasn't like you didn't get the, like, very localized creepy crawly feeling, and even when she did, like, she just kinda, like, sat there when he sat her down, and because she's, like, holding herself up, so you don't feel, like, the little hairs on her body or anything, it's just her little feet, and she just sat there for a minute, and he was like, "I'll try to get her to move," and he kinda, like, nudged her, and so when she walked, it literally just felt like somebody was like, just took their fingers and were just going like this, so you didn't like, she was big enough, you didn't get that, like, tightly together, just kind of tickling the hairs on your skin, creepy crawly feeling, it was just like, "Oh, that's just she's just walking on me. Yeah, this is fine." Like, I kind of anticipated it was going to feel more creepy crawly than it did, and it really didn't. Which that was the first time I got to hold a tarantula. She was pretty sweet. I've held a lot of other creatures, but not a tarantula until this weekend. I saw a tarantula, like, in the wild one time, when I was visiting someone in Arizona, and I was getting ready to leave, actually, I'd been there for a couple of days, and I, like, go to pull my suitcase out from under the bed, and as I look under the bed, there's just a tarantula just hanging out under the bed, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I'm in Arizona. They live here." And that one was, like, the size of my hand. I was just like, "Oh, okay, okay." But yeah, I got a bunch of cool stickers. I got some cool that's a nope. That's fair. Yeah, you go out west in the south. If you go out to the southwest in the United States, you've got centipedes and scorpions and tarantulas just all over the place. It's a great time. But yeah, I bought a bunch of cool stickers. I got a little tiny taxidermy piece that's actually going to be a gift for a friend. So I'm not going to give out too many specifics on that in case they happen to be watching. Um, and my friend M, who goes by Abso Looking Flutely, Futely. I can never say it right. Abso goes by Abso on social media. You've seen her in the comments here sometimes before. Uh, I bought a really cool cameo necklace from her. It was like a little cameo necklace, except the background is all sparkly and sparkly dark green, and the cameo face has like it's still like a very nicely dressed lady, but she's got like a skull for a face. Very cool. Really enjoy that. And I got like a macrame plant holder and a lunar calendar, just all sorts of cute stuff. Had a good time. Hey, Hungry, thanks so much for joining me. And there's a lot of really creative taxidermy, which I enjoyed. Some stuff that I personally did not enjoy quite as much because it just wasn't really up my alley. There were, of course, people who did stuff with like creepy dolls. I don't like creepy dolls. Creepy dolls freak me out. Not a fan. I saw a creepy doll booth and I was just like, nope, gonna keep on walking. Um, some body horror type stuff, really not a fan of. Like a lot of body horror stuff does not bother me. Anything involving teeth, no, can't do it. Can't do it. So yeah, that was a There was, like, a couple of booths that had a bunch of, like, human teeth and, like, old dental equipment, and I'm like, "No." How about how about no? How about I want no part of this? But, like, some places had stuff like vintage, like, postcards or other paper ephemera, or sometimes people were just selling, like, gothy art. It was really fun. A lot of cool stuff. And, of course, you had all the people who were selling, like, like, gemstones and that sort of thing, cool rocks and minerals. And my friends that were there, also my friend Jess, who does, Adventure Awaits, she does a ton of different shows, mostly in Maine, but sometimes other parts of New England as well. Her stuff is very cool. Of course, she was there. And Hexawing Demon, who you can find. I don't know if she does YouTube. I know she does Twitch. And she does a lot of really cool artwork too. And she was there. So everybody was having a good time, and they're like, "You should be here." And I was like, "I will try to do that next year because I didn't even know this was a thing this year." So we'll see. Try to get in next year, depending on how the schedule shakes out. Okay, I'm gonna call that enough rocks for right now. I'm gonna take a break from rocks. We're gonna move on to somewhere else. And I'll come back to rocks later. You gotta pace yourself on these things. If I tried to sit here and do all the rocks, I would just get slower and slower and eventually just not want to continue. So I'm gonna take a break from rocks and we're gonna move down here. We're gonna work on some faces because those are much more fun to draw than rocks for me personally. I'm sure some people enjoy drawing rocks a whole bunch. I don't mind it, but I foolishly made a scene with way too many of them for me. And I need to take little breaks. We're doing rock sprints today. So yeah, we will see if next year I get to go to that show. There's maybe one in the spring. I don't know for sure. I think that was like a possibility, but not like for certain yet. So we're going to start tightening up this underdrawing, get a little more definition in here before we do final pencils. Inking those rocks is going to be a project. Oh, yes. Yes, it is. It's going to take me a minute. It's going to have to be the same kind of thing where it's like, work a little bit on rocks, work a little bit on something else. What are we doing? What's going on with the side of your face, sir? What's happening there? Ah, thank you. Appreciate it. Baltazar is up to his schemes. His great scheming face. Okay, so they're a little bit more roughed in, so now I'm going to go in and just clean up some of this under drying and tighten this up. I don't like what your hair is doing there. Just kind of erase some of this extra scribbly stuff that we don't need as we go. Gotta add little details like the laces on the front of his shirt. Okay, there's Zeke back there being like, "What is happening?" And we're just gonna clean this up a little bit. Oh yeah, so since last week too, the other thing is everybody is back to school. We're getting back into the school groove. That's also kind of threw me off for a few days there because we started like on Wednesday. So it just kind of like made me very confused for a few days of like, what day is it? We just started going to school, but it's not Monday. It's Wednesday. And it's like the idea is that they kind of ease into it by like going to school for 3 days and then they have a 3-day weekend and they have a 4-day week. And like that's a great theory, but in practice, I just have no idea what day of the week it is for a solid 2 weeks. I'm just desperately confused for 2 weeks. Gotta get his goatee in there. That's how you know he's a bad guy. He's got a goatee. Just kidding. Zeke's not really a bad guy. He's just got a very bad friend. All right. There's those two guys. Gotta work on this background a little bit here. Not gonna sweat this background too terrible much because a lot of it is just gonna be in the textures. I just want to make sure that I have a basic guideline for where that's all supposed to happen. Because we've got a bunch of like creeping vines and stuff going on in the background here. And I want to make sure they're following more or less the same path, panel to panel, but I'm not going to make myself completely nuts trying to make sure that they're 100% the same panel to panel. It's not that important. That's not the point. Okay. I guess I'll go back and do some more rocks. Darn rocks. Rocks. There's this other comic artist I follow on Instagram. I followed him for a long time now, many years now. He'd been working on like a 400-page graphic novel for a long time. I think he finally finished it. I'm not sure when it's coming out because I really haven't seen anything from him lately. I don't know if it's because he's like taking a social media break or if social media is just being a butt and refusing to show me what I want to see, like it likes to do. I'll have to go out of my way to go look him up and see what's going on there, if it's just hiding him from me or if he hasn't actually been posting much lately. But comic artist by the name of Philip Clay. And one of the things he always jokes about is that his graphic novel is like set somewhere where there's just like a lot of rock walls and like so he's just always like, yep, drawing my rocks. My rocks. So many rocks. So let's see. What else do I have coming up soon? Not this coming weekend, but the weekend after is Granite Con, which I'm looking forward to. That's always a good show, and I missed it last year because I got friggin' COVID right before it. Sucked. Let's not do that again this year. Kids will not drag it home from school again. Yeah, looking forward to doing Granite Con again this year. Be happy to see everybody. Tend to gravitate towards a more simplistic approach where I attempt to imply there's more detail than there is. That's like the smart thing to do, someone's saying. That's like that's actually a good plan. It's a much better plan than drawing every ridiculous rock. There is a point at which I will get to that where it'll like toward the background, it'll just kind of like fade. But I'm right now drawing a lot of rocks because I'm not actually that smart, apparently. So many rocks. After Granite Con, what do I have going on after Granite Con? I will have BCTC. I may have the Fall Bangor Sidewalk Art Festival in there somewhere. I have not received confirmation on that yet, so we'll see. That would be the first weekend in October if I do get into that one. So that's like October 7th, I think. And then BCTC will be like the weekend after that. It's like the 15th. And that's the Bangor Comic and Toy Con in Bangor, Maine. It's my nice, easy hometown con. And then I have like a library book show that I may or may like a library art book show thing that I may or may not be doing. That's another one that I'm waiting to hear from. I haven't heard either way yet. So we will see if I end up doing that or not. That would be like the second weekend of December. So only a few more events left this year. I mean, still plenty of stuff going on, but only a handful of like shows where I would be selling my stuff. Okay. I'm gonna take another little rock break. We've made good rock progress here. Moving on. Come back down here and work on some things that are not rocks for a minute. All right. I need to pull up my reference in this screen too and keep an eye on that while I'm doing this. There we go. Okay. I'm just trying to juggle all my windows up here. Make sure that I am drawing things correctly. All right. Clean some of this up a little bit. By which I apparently mean just erase everything. Sure, that's cleaning stuff up a little bit. Why not? Oh, goodness. Trying to keep this guy's face looking like creepy and kind of gaunt, but also be able to actually give him an expression. Not have him just look like I'm just constantly making a mean guy scowl and literally nothing else. Oh, I'm getting dive bombed by bugs again. Look at this. Look at this. Just hanging out. Just. What is this? What are you? What are you? What's the furthest away show I regularly go to? Regularly? Probably one of the ones in Massachusetts. So, like, probably like Plastic City, maybe. Most of my really regular shows are pretty close. So, like, uh, most of my regular shows are either in Maine or in New Hampshire. I used to do some in Vermont, which were not actually necessarily like miles wise all that much further, but they were always harder to get to because Vermont is just a pain to get to from Maine because like there's no like east west. There's like oh yes, the rocks are so real. The bug just wants to hang out in them. I think you might be onto something. Someone's saying. Uh Vermont always was, like, the most travel time because there's no east-west road, so you had to either, like, go all the way down into New Hampshire and Massachusetts and then back up, or you had to, like, spend forever taking little backcountry roads across Vermont. Um, but yeah, I do, Plastic City Comic Con every year, and I do Granite Con every year, and Plastic City is farther, that's in Fitchburg, Massachusetts. And I've done a few other shows, like I've done, a show in Texas, and I've done, this past year I did Heroes Con in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the thing is, like, those shows, I haven't found one yet where, like, the timing works out and the expense of, like, trying to get myself and all of my stuff there worked out for and find somewhere to stay and all this stuff worked out for, like, the amount of money that I made at it. Um, this, of course, does not take into account the shows where I'm working for someone else. I'm just talking about shows where I'm representing myself and selling my comics. Cause like cause I go to PAX Unplugged fairly regularly now, and that's in Philly. New York is next month. I have not ever been to New York Comic Con. I think that would be really fun. And hello, uh, E- Edam, Et- Itamatine for I don't know. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. Forever. I feel like it's something really obvious and I'm just not getting it. I'm sorry. So yeah, I actually just had a meeting with Jeremy today and he was asking if I was planning on coming back to Heroes Con and I'm like, I would like to. I just don't know if like logistically it would make sense for me to go to again. Um So that's something I kind of have to look into, see if it's going to make sense for me to try to get back to that or not, because it was very expensive to attend and I enjoyed it a whole bunch. And it was really cool to get to meet Eternity. Oh, Eternity. I gotcha. I get it now. I knew it was something obvious and I just couldn't figure it out. It makes perfect sense now that you explain it. I just couldn't put it together. I figured there was probably something like that I was just missing. Anyway. Yeah, just wasn't getting it. Just wasn't getting there. Anyway, I have not ever been to New York City Comic Con. I would love to go to it. Um, haven't made it to that one. And honestly, the last few years, like my regular rotation of conventions got completely like exploded anyway. So there's that. Gee, I wonder what happened to all the comic conventions. I do very much miss I loved MECAF, the main comic art festival, and Portland Comic Expo. And I very much miss getting to do those every year, and they just don't exist anymore. And the organizers are not doing them and have no plans to pick them back up. So it's a bummer. I would love to see something else like fill that same niche, but nothing has been forthcoming. And there are conventions I used to go to, and then for whatever reason, I don't get to go to them anymore. So, like, for example, I used to go to SPX every year. I haven't been there ever since they switched to the lottery slash juried system. Haven't been back. Just haven't made it in. I haven't made it. They have not let me in. I have not gotten lucky. My number has not come up. I used to do MegaCon in Orlando, Florida every year because I lived in Georgia, so it was pretty easy to get down to Orlando. Like I could just drive down with some friends and it was pretty easy to get to, but obviously I'm much farther away than from that now, so it would be quite the ordeal for me to go to MegaCon again. Enjoy your streamings every week. New York Comic Con is full of comics creators. Artist Alley is insane, from the best to the best. Lots of indies too. I would love to go. I'll have to. That's another one where you have to get like approved to get into it. So I'll have to check out like trying to apply for that for next year. Because yeah, I did try to apply for MICE, the Massachusetts Independent Comic Expo, in Cambridge this year, and I did not get in. They were just like, nope. And one of my friends was like, oh, I got waitlisted, but I think they just said that to everybody that didn't get in. I think they just say it's the wait list, but it's not really the wait list. They just rejected me. And I'm like, oh, no, no, you got on the wait list. Because I did get actually rejected. They didn't even tell me I'm on the wait list. They just said no. And he was like, I feel better and worse now. Thanks. Like, well, don't feel bad. It's fine. I'm not taking it personally. It's annoying, but whatever. I did find it very funny though at Plastic City when somebody came up to my table and looked at some of my stuff and they're like, "Do you go to mice? Your stuff would be perfect for mice." I'm like, "Well, they didn't think so." MegaCon was great this year. First for me, the building is huge. Awesome. I'm glad to hear it's still doing well. I had many very good MegaCons. Yeah, the Orange County Convention Center is absurdly huge. It is so, so huge. Cute name for a con. It is mice. It's very cute. All right. I've got this guy's creepy face here. I need to sharpen my pencil again, and then we'll do another quick little pass on rocks as we near the end of the stream here. I guess there's like a good sized Comic Con in Savannah now too. And the first year I was going to go to it because I used to live in Savannah, and there we didn't have a Comic Con when I was there. Every once in a while, someone would try to do like the college would put on little events, like comic events sometimes. And then like one of the groups of like clubs that I was involved with put on their own like little mini convention. But of course, it was quite small because it's just like a bunch of college kids doing it as like on the weekend or whatever. So it was not like a big thing. Like the manga club did put together the artist alley or whatever, and the anime club did a bunch of like anime viewings, and the gaming club put on a bunch of gaming stuff and that sort of thing. But it was not like it was an impressive feat for basically like a dozen people pulling it together in between their classes, but it was not like a huge thing. Um, but yeah, there was not ever a Comic-Con in Savannah at the time, which is why MegaCon became like my home base convention when I lived there. And then I was going to now then like a Savannah Comic-Con has since established itself since I moved from there. And the first one I was gonna attend, and I had bought my table and like a ticket to get down there and everything, was in 2020. That didn't happen. I haven't made it back down. And I'm just like, I don't know if I want to. I just haven't gotten the will to try to figure it out. Why draw all the hair so tight? So it depends on the character. Some characters I don't draw it super tight, because I know how it's going to, and like I know how I'm going to ink it later. Uh, Characters that I either don't I don't draw as frequently. So like this character, back of his head right here, I've only drawn him like a handful of times. He's only been in a handful of pages so far. So part of that is to provide like a roadmap for me, especially if I know I'm not going to get a chance to come back and ink it for a while. And so like it's not super super tight, but I want to make sure that I have like a basic roadmap of how I am envisioning his hair to lie on his form for when I get back to it. Also, sometimes for characters that I do draw more frequently, then sometimes I'll tighten up their hair a little bit just to make sure that I get the like if they're moving in a certain way and the hair is going to have like a lot of motion in it or not just be like hanging normally but kind of show some of that secondary motion. Um, so that's generally why I do a lot of that. Like I said, a lot of times it's just to provide a roadmap for me so that later on when I go back in and ink it, I don't lose my place and I make sure to still get all of that nice texture and direction in there and still show the form instead of it just kind of like becoming a flat shape that loses all of the dimension underneath it. A lot of times you'll see, especially, whoops, I just dropped my eraser on the floor. A lot of times you'll see a character, especially like Kamaria, who I've drawn about a bajillion times, and her hair will just be like outline, scribble, because I know how I'm gonna ink it. I've done it. I've done it. I've done it so many times. I don't need to do it again. But yeah, also like I kind of started to say and then lost my place in what I was saying. I know I'm not going to come back and ink this until like a couple of weeks from now because I'm doing this over the course of several streams. So I'm working on other pages in between, and this is having like really long breaks between when I draw it and when I go in and ink it. And so I don't want to forget what I was doing, essentially. And sometimes that happens even on pages that I'm not doing on stream just because of the way that my workflow ends up. Like I'll draw something and I won't get a chance to come back and ink it for a long time because I'm working on other stuff. I tend to draw my pages in batches, which you won't really see on the streams because that's not like a fun way to watch them be worked on. But I'll draw like 2 or 3 or 4 pages at a time and then go through and ink them all at a time because I tend to get through them a lot faster that way. It's a lot more efficient. But that's also why you need to leave those little cues for yourself in the drawing and maybe draw things a little tighter than you would if you were going to finish it up in ink right away, because it's like, okay, well, I have to be able to remember what I was doing when I come back to this later. I still think that it does work out as far as the amount of effort that I'm putting in on the pencils and the amount of time that takes versus if I were to just like finish each page, like go through each page start to finish, pencil, letter, ink all at once. Or rather, I know that it is because I've seen the difference in my ability to keep up with my pages since I switched to doing them in batches. But anyway, we're in like the last less than 10 minutes of the stream. It's more like the last 5-ish minutes of the stream. So I'm going to go ahead and do the little YouTube things recap. I'm Amanda Call. This is my YouTube channel. You should like this video and subscribe to the channel so that you can watch me work on comics. I do these streams just about every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, where you get to watch me work on comics and talk about my process and answer questions and all of that good stuff. And seriously, anytime you have questions, just let me know. I love to answer questions to the best of my ability. This page that I am working on is from my webcomic, Age of Night. You can read that at ageofnight.com. That's AGEOFNIGHT.com. It updates every Wednesday. You can read the whole thing for free online. But if you want to help support me in my effort to make comics, you can support me on Patreon. That's patreon.com/ageofnight, spelled the same way as the comic. Any of my patrons, aside from supporting me and being like just the best for doing that, you also get Age of Night pages a week early. So whatever page I'm posting tomorrow, my patrons already saw last week. And then tomorrow they're going to see something that everyone else won't get to see for a week after that. So that's really cool. And you get free comics for signing up. You get to see other little sneak peeks of other things that I'm working on throughout the year. Like they've gotten to see a bunch of sneak peeks of I Am the First, all sorts of other cool stuff, little short comics that I'm working on here and there, that sort of thing. And I just really appreciate it. It's very cool. You can also buy copies of my comic on Amazon, Drive-Thru RPG, Drive-Thru Fiction, and Drive-Thru Comics at skirmisher.com. They're my digital publishing partners. You can request them from like your local bookstore. You can message me on Ko-Fi and be like, hey, I want a book. And I'll be like, okay, here's a book. I'll send it to you. Send me money. There's lots of options to help support me is what I'm saying. And I appreciate all of them. And if you want to follow me on social media, I'm usually Amanda Call Art or Age of Night on pretty much all the platforms, wherever I actually exist and do things. So that is going to do us for this evening. We started with some rocks, just like a few rocks, and these figures in this panel. And then we did, and throughout the course of this hour, we did a lot more rocks. We got 2 panels nicely tightened up, and we only have a couple left. So we will see. Hopefully we can get this finished with the drawing next time and start in on lettering. Yes, I am on TikTok. I'm just not very active. I'm on TikTok as Amanda Call Art, I think. I don't know. I don't remember. I definitely rocked tonight. Oh, good one. Good one, someone's saying. All right. Thank you all so much. I will see you all next time. Bye.